So yep, so we're on. So you should be on your Facebook now.
Yeah.
Okay, just going to take myself live wedding. Okay, let's see if I can see you. Should be able to. Yeah, I can see you. So I'm just going to I'm just going to share this. So just wait for a few people to come online as well, and then we'll get started.
Okay.
All right, let me just share that in there. All right, 1 second. Okay, so that goes in there. Okay, good evening, everybody. We just waiting for a few more people to come online, and then we'll get started here. I'm just sharing into a few groups at present. Okay. Okay, that's one now. Okay, I'll keep you a second. So just a few minutes before we start, everybody. So that's just shared that in. I'll just share it into this group as well. So the share it onto a group here. This goes there. And finally in here, share a group. Okay. Okay. Is it your side? Have you got? Is your phone fully off, Manny? Just to check.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then finally here, let's just share it here, just to get some more momentum. Yeah, I'll just to get what we do. What I like to do is normally share into about 3 or 4 groups, so we so some momentum.
It builds up.
Yeah, so everyone can see it. Right. Okay. So. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, a very, very good evening to you all. First of all, just to introduce myself, my name is Jonathan Waterman. I'm an award-winning wedding and events Toastmaster coordinator, planner, celebrant auctioneer, consultant and booking agency for other services. Today, I'm delighted to be interviewing Manny Singh. Just a little bit about Manny. Manny is the CEO of the Platinum Group. This incorporates national Asian wedding shows, in which the largest shows in Europe are produced. Manny is also the managing director of Indian Fashion Week London. Manny's website is www.platinum-group.com. I'm really honoured, though, that Manny is happy to be interviewed by me this evening. Following this interview, you'll have the chance to ask Manny and myself as many questions as you like. However, before we start, as we know, we've had 34,000 people that have died here in the UK, and over 300,000 people have died on a worldwide basis due to COVID-19. Can I just kindly ask you all just to close your eyes just for 1 minute and have these people in your thoughts, those people that have lost their lives. So just a 1 minute silence from you all, and then we'll be back to you, if that's okay. That's lovely. So as I say, thank you everybody for tuning in this evening to our interview, and I'd like to say thank you all for taking a moment to do this 1 minute silence. Now, 1 minute silence, as I say, was in respect of all those people that have died in COVID-19, the COVID-19 coronavirus episode. 34,000 of us just felt out of respect. We would just pay our respects basically to them. So, good evening to you, Manny. It's lovely to be interviewing you. Very good evening to you, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, Jonathan.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to, first of all, to ask you, Manny, first of all, can you just kindly reiterate and tell people who you are and what you do, and just please elaborate on the services you provide in detail?
Okay. Well, hello, everybody, and good evening. I'm Manny Singh. Started up a company called Platinum 17 years ago now, mainly in order to concentrate on the events industry, organize exhibitions, live events, provide services to existing events as well. Over the years, it's been really good, grown. We have our own event, as been previously mentioned by Jonathan. We run the National Asian Wedding Show. We run India Fashion Week, Luxury Asian Wedding Show, which was also due to take place in October, but may still take place in October. And yeah, so everything events related we do as a company.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely fantastic, because your website kind of says it all. You've been you're involved in the largest shows in Europe, and I've seen it. You've got Birmingham, Bradford, Leeds, and everywhere, really, haven't you?
Yeah, all we got the United Kingdom. Yeah,
yeah, which is fantastic. And just to let people know, on an average count, how many people do you normally have attending these type of shows?
It really depends on which exhibition it is. I mean, our smaller localized exhibitions, we usually attract around 2,500 people.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit more depending on the location. But then we also hold one show annually in the capital, in London. We had a tenancy at XL London for 7 years. The highest we got there was 14,500 people over a weekend.
God, wow.
And then we moved over to Olympia, so we were there for 2 or 3 years. Again, we hit around about 12,000 people over a weekend. So numbers have been big.
Well, you see, that's fantastic, really, because I'm guessing, obviously, being the MD for the Indian Fashion Week in London, I guess that would bring in a lot of press, I take it. Is that right? And a lot more people.
I mean, from a press point of view, we generally tend to get a lot of worldwide exposure. I mean, Indian fashion has, been at the forefront now for many years. There's a great appetite for it here in the UK. So I think more than anything else, it was just a case of just being able to produce an event that was able to showcase India's leading designers here in the UK.
Yeah, no, that's great, because I mean, at your shows, in relation to exhibitors, I know you really sort of look after exhibitors. I mean, on average, you try to select people from different categories and everything to make it good.
Yeah.
How many, roughly, just, I wouldn't put you to a figure, but to say for one of your larger exhibitions, how many exhibitors do you normally have?
At the large exhibitions, we tend to get around about between 100 to 150 exhibitors.
Yeah.
Will range from everything to do with weddings. You can be your DJs, venues, your caterers, mehndi artists, fashion designers and stuff. So it really is in order that you can actually attend one of these exhibitions and being able to actually organize your wedding all under one roof.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because having worked with Manny before, I can elaborate on that myself, and I can say that the exhibitors that are at these shows are very professional. They're very hands-on. They want to work with you. They want to help you. So he shows that they're always very, very engaging with their prospective clients. So it's a very good outlet, as I say, to look at your whole wedding being planned, really.
And I think ultimately one of the main things what everybody needs to understand is that if one of the wedding service suppliers is going to be actually very serious about what they're doing and actually being able to market themselves at an exhibition, goes to show that they're actually serious about whatever they're doing in business. We get from people that are in the industry and that's all they do. We also get smaller companies what are just weekend work or stuff. But for us, it's a case of being able to actually engage in that experience for our exhibitors and for the people that actually visit the shows as well. So it's more of a one-stop shop for everybody in order to actually have that have that point of contact where they're able to come, see things, being able to speak to the exhibitors, see the products and services as well firsthand.
Well, as well, it's absolutely right what you're saying. I can again elaborate on this in terms of suppliers, as Manny's just mentioned. The show does have a lot of credibility because the type of suppliers you've got there are top end, and they work with Manny very closely. The likes of Ragamama, who are very big in the industry, like of Ritchie, Ikat VIP Studio. That's just naming just a few. Is that right, Manny?
It is. I mean, we're very, very fortunate that we've had some of the industry's leading brands have been with the show for many, many years, and I think what also does is it allows us in order to tap into their client base as well, because anytime we organize a show for our people, it just means that they are actively market it out to their leads, inquiries, and so forth. So the other exhibitors what are actually also taking part in the exhibitions are then able to take advantage of the leads what these larger, well-known, established companies would actually be taking. They've been incoming to them.
Well, that's you said that's a good thing. That to me shows a lot of credibility within the exhibition. When you've got very big names as your gold platinum partners behind, like your Ragasan, your Whitritz, they would have told their client base to come in, to come in to have a look around, to have your meetings, and it gives those clients a good chance to look around at everyone else's services. So,
and I think one of the other things to actually bear in mind is at times, even if people have actually secured one or two service people for the wedding, it doesn't mean that everything for the whole wedding has been organized. So again, even if whether it's the venue, the caterer, the DJ has been arranged, once people actually attend the exhibitions, it gives them an opportunity then in order to actually have a look at other service suppliers as well.
Yeah.
So
no, you said it all started for you. Obviously, I think you said 2008 briefly. I mean, how did you get into this kind of thing, and how has it evolved into an enterprise for you?
It's purely by mistake. It was actually a friend of mine. I mean, I went through education, went to university. Whilst I was at university, I actually did an IT degree whilst I was at uni. But then I actually started up in a American stretch limousine company whilst I was in university. So I ran that for 8 years. But then it actually came to the stage where every man and his dog actually had a American stretch limousine to hire. Yeah. So obviously pricing comes down, it gets very cutthroat, very competitive. So I had a great opportunity in order to sell the company on as a going concern with everything, the name, telephone line, everything. So I took the opportunity, and then it was a case of, what do I do with myself? Now, whilst I was running the American Stretch Limousine Company, I used to provide a lot of cards for Asian weddings to one of the wedding organizers. And then he turned into a very good mate of mine. And then once the Rich Limousine Company went, he said to me, "Why don't you, help out with what we do in terms of the weddings and stuff?" So again, he was also part of one or two exhibitions that happened in the area as well. So Bradford was our very first show that we did. And I think it was from there on that I actually thought there is something what is missing, especially in the north. I mean, at that time, I don't know whether you can remember, but it was the days of Asian Woman and Asian Bride.
Ah, yes.
Back in the day, when it was actually owned by Sawa, who actually owns Asiana now. Now, again, the actual whole market in the south was huge. There was a great appetite for exhibitions. There was a great appetite for people wanting to go out, look at what kind of new things that there are out in the market. So we gave it a shot in the north, and it actually went really, really well. I did lose money on it, but then again, it was a case of if it was to be done properly and seriously, it needed the right kind of investment behind it. It needed the right kind of approach, and it needed a lot of kind of nurturing as well.
Yeah, I mean,
ultimately from there on, it was just we did about 1 or 2 years in the north, then moved into the Midlands as well, and then it was after about 3 or 4 years of trading. One day I had the bright idea that if we're going to go into London, it needs to be into Excel straight away. So ever since then, not looked back.
Well, that's really fantastic, really. I mean, the way it's evolved for you into an enterprise is absolutely fantastic. You've seen potentially spaces in the north. Obviously it needed to be nurtured. Then you moved into the Midlands, and then you've obviously come down to the south. You've been in Excel, but as you say, it was all trial and error in the north when you first done it. And what you've done is you've taken a chance. You've put as much effort into it as you can. You've produced a fantastic show. And what it's done in result, it's got the word out that you're doing, you're producing good shows, and that hence has led to a following for you.
No, absolutely, and I think the great thing about this industry is I'm not saying we do everything right and it's been 100% perfect all the way. We've made many mistakes along the way, but I think it's those mistakes what have allowed us to learn as well. In terms of a company, in terms of a brand. And I think the good thing that we've actually got now is a track record behind us as well. And, over the years, I mean, if you ask me about the exhibition as a whole, how it was when I first began to how it is now, it's, very, very different. The appetite of the consumer has changed. The introduction of online content is huge. Social media plays a huge part in everything. We face very different challenges, but I think that's the really good thing about the whole thing, because it just means that you're not getting complacent. You're not actually getting to a stage where you're thinking, okay, the exhibitions, are able to run themselves, or I don't need to put any effort into them. But it's also, you've got to look at what your target audience is as well.
Yeah.
The way that they actually interact with like media, the way they interact with any kind of advertising for the exhibitions, or any event really, it has changed, to how it was when I first began. So you've got to constantly evolve. You've got to constantly change. Even your kind of marketing approach has to change as well. And I think even in terms of the Asian wedding industry, it's been very, very. It's been good in the sense of the market's changed, but I've also seen people getting very complacent as well over the years, where it's a case of they've done really well, they've built a name, but then after that they feel as though that they don't need to change at all, they don't need to evolve, they don't need to kind of alter the way that they actually do things. But the hard thing is the consumer is changing and constantly changing year on year.
Yeah. I mean, I've taken on board what you've just said, and I'm sure our listeners here have also taken on board. You've actually said some very interesting points that you've mentioned about the consumers changing, about the mindsets changing, about what people come to expect. I think generally nowadays it's people kind of expect to see the best now because there's so much out there in terms of technology, in terms of in terms of setups, just the whole thing. They want to see a production. They want to see a full production, and they want to see it slick, and they want to see it smooth, and that's sort of give them the greatest of confidence. I mean, if I can kindly ask, I mean, you've mentioned your UK nationwide on your shows. Have you done anything sort of on the overseas basis, on a destination basis at all?
It's something that is actually on the cards. It's something that we've been having a look into for quite some time now. But again, with everything, just like everything else, it's all down to the timing. But it is on the cards.
Yeah, no, that'll be an interesting one when it comes up, and it's I take obviously with the Indian fashion world as well. You're the CEO of the Fashion Week here in London. Does your influences sort of take you worldwide? Is it?
We kind of, I mean, regular. We've got a lot of partners that we work with over in India. I was very fortunate enough to actually team up with the Times Group in India. Times of India. We've got some plans with them in the pipeline, what we're actually working on currently. So for us, it's just a case of actually exploring markets as Europe, Middle East, and also India as well. There's quite a lot of opportunities what are there, but again, it's really, I want to get everything right here first. Once it's actually at that stage here where I can then move on to other things then.
Yeah, I mean that's a good thing, because from what I'm understanding, and I talk to you, your passion is really oozing, and it's really coming from within. You want to succeed. I mean, tell us more where the passion comes from, and what kind of plans have you got to expand your portfolio? You mentioned about destinations. What else is in the pipeline?
So again, I mean, it's just the one thing that we've actually benefited from really, because obviously when all of this kicked off with the COVID issue that we're actually heading through now, again, the biggest hit was to the exhibition and events industry. Now, I'm a part of the Association of Event Organizers, and again, every single day we keep getting regular updates on how it's actually impacting the actual industry as a whole. So really, for me, it was a case of, I mean, in one sense, we were very, very lucky that I was just heading out of our exhibition season. We managed to get in our final show in the Midlands on the actual week before the lockdown. So again, obviously the exhibitors were on edge. We were on edge in terms of, are people still going to turn up? Are people still going to exhibit with us? Are people still going to come and actually see the exhibition more than anything else? Yeah. Luckily for us, it was a really good turnout. The exhibitors did well. So in terms of the ending of the season, it went well. But then we move into how we are now. I mean, our next show is actually in the calendar for October, which is the Luxury Asian Wedding Show. Now, again, it's very difficult to predict, which way the government is going to go in the sense of, how many people can attend these exhibitions, what kind of venues can open to what kind of capacity. Because again, just exactly like with the weddings, it also impacts us with when we actually do the live event. Now, it was quite interesting because I was speaking to one of the sales guys from Olympia London last week. Now, they've actually got large-scale exhibitions what are actually in the diary for August, September. But again, because of everything being up in the air, it's very, 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 very touch and go. So what I then did was I thought to myself, we've got to actually keep the industry alive in a way, especially the Asian events industry. So I got in touch with a development company who we've actually got creating a virtual exhibition for us at the moment. So again, it will actually be, you'll be able to do it off your iPad or your iPhone or your laptop. It'll just be exactly the same as actually walking through an exhibition.
Wow.
We will have our exhibitors there. You'll be able to click on an exhibitor. You'll be able to, just like we are now, video conferencing. You'll be able to download PDF information. You'll be able to see their products and services. So we're investing quite a lot of money into this project just in order to actually be able to actually offer the consumer something. Because one thing I have seen over the last couple of months, we keep a track of the amount of people that actually visit our website looking at exhibition dates and information on weddings. We've actually seen the traffic go up around about 30 to 40%. So all because people are not in the process of getting married. They are planning for 2021 weddings or even late 2020 weddings, depending on what happens with, what happens with these things.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. Again, so with that, we just wanted to do something that would actually be able to cater for these people and even without, just say for argument's sake, they can't attend an exhibition this year. We're still able to actually offer them something where they're able to interact with the wedding service suppliers and stuff. And then we've also got an app which is also being developed as well. Again, it'll be something very, very similar to the virtual exhibition, but it'll be like a wedding directory. And I think one of the main reasons behind these two ventures are because over the years we've invested a lot of money into SEOs. So even if you actually head into Google now and enter in Asian wedding show, we will always come out top. So it's just a case of actually being able to take advantage of that online element that we've got, being able to take advantage of the amount of people that are coming onto our site looking for wedding inspiration, but being able to actually offer them something more.
Yeah.
So exciting things in the pipeline.
No, it's fantastic. As I say, so reiterating what Manny just said, there's a lot that's going to be happening in the future. He's going to be going very interactive. There's going to be given devices so they can plug in from home, all different things, and it's very, very exciting. I'm looking forward to it, actually. To see it. It's going to be very, very exciting.
It's going to be a game changer in the industry, because I think even for us, even once the exhibitions are open again, they will be able to complement the exhibitions to a certain extent, because obviously with time constraints or people not being able to reach the venues, the exhibitors may not be able to take advantage of everybody being able to actually attend the shows on a weekend. So if we've got something that is going to be live all year round, again, people will be able to actually at any point, from the comfort of their own home, they'll be able to actually see exhibitors, see the information, what, all of the wedding service suppliers are actually willing to offer.
It's fantastic. So what Manny's doing basically is making the use of technology to its fullest, really, to give the clients the best experience in a number of different ways.
Yeah.
So that's very, very, very good and very innovative, actually. Can I just ask you your general view on something? The prospective clients that come to your shows, and based on the age that we're in now, in same relation to Asian weddings and weddings in general, do you feel the clients are generally do you think it's all about price or about the quality, or do you feel people buy people? What's your view on that?
I personally think it's more quality than price.
Yeah,
that's what I've seen more than anything else. What you'll tend to find is that your you're dealing with a potential audience now that is very, very tech savvy. They've already done majority of the research. Gone are the days where brides and grooms used to attend exhibitions and not have a clue of what kind of outfit they want to wear, or what kind of cake they want at the wedding, or what kind of entertainment they want. I think that is something that social media has definitely changed over the years.
Yeah.
I think providing they're able to actually build the confidence with the supplier. I'm not saying price, it's not going to come into it, but I don't think it'll play as much of an importance as people assume it does. I think the most important thing that you've got to understand is these people are used to dealing with mainstream Western brands day in, day out. Unfortunately, sometimes what we tend to do in the Asian industry, and everyone is in the same boat here, even we do it as event organizers sometimes, even though I try not to, is we cut corners, and that's not good. It's not good for the industry, it's not good for any business to do. Because for anyone potentially getting married, it's all about the service. It's all about the packaging, it's all about being able to be having the confidence that on your big day, your special day, that whatever service supplier you're going to go with, they're going to deliver 110%. Because it's not as though that you're going to pay a lot of money to somebody and they're not going to be able to deliver, and you'll be able to do your wedding again. So you're only going to be getting one shot at this. So I think a lot of the time, even working with some of the industries, bigger brands, a lot of people will go with the bigger brands simply because of the confidence, and I think if everybody can start to instill that confidence into the consumer, it will make everything a whole lot easier for people.
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally inclined to agree with you. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I can go with that. Based on price, there are people out there that are price orientated. It's people buy into people, and as you say, a lot of people go for quality. It's all about that person. It's about how you strike, how you resonate with that person, isn't it? Really,
you've got to build a relationship with that person, and I mean, ultimately, a wedding is very, very stressful anyway, and ultimately planning your wedding and ensuring that everything's done down to a T, because again you're going to be on stage that one day, or multiple days in some weddings, but so you want to actually be at the stage where that to the best of your ability that you're actually dealing with the right kind of companies. Communication is very, very important. And one thing that I see is that if people are able to build a relationship with somebody, the business will come. And I think if ultimately if you're very, very standoffish, I mean, don't get me wrong, I see it at the exhibitions all the time. I see some exhibitors that will turn up at the weekend of the show. They'll have 2 chairs on their exhibition stand, and they'll on those chairs the whole weekend and just watch the world go by. And then, at the end of it, they'll say, "Oh, we didn't really get much of a response from actually being at the show." But then I say to them that every time I've been past your stand, you've been sat on your chairs all weekend. You can't, because ultimately you have split seconds in order to actually get somebody's attention.
Yeah.
If you're not going to be able to stand up, strike a conversation, and it doesn't even have to be about what you're promoting or what you're selling or anything. A lot of the time it's that whole thing that if you actually are able to speak to people, communicate with people, everything else will actually come automatically afterwards.
Well, that's right. I've always had the mentality where it's not about us as suppliers. It's about the client. It's about listening to the client and let them speak, and then and then have your answers, then give constructive answers to their solution, because they're coming for a solution, aren't they? Really?
Absolutely. And ultimately, if anybody is able to help them, or anybody is able to assist them, then the business will actually come. And I don't think we're actually in an age anymore now where those days of being able to apply the pressure and hard sell, them days are gone now. Everybody's got a choice. People have got a choice. They don't have to go with one DJ or decor company or caterer or videographer. People have a choice. So it's how well and to the best of your ability you can put forward what you're doing, how you're doing it. And I think the most important thing in all of this is instilling confidence. If you can instill the confidence into somebody, the business will come itself. But unfortunately, if someone is not going to feel confident in order to actually hand over their hard-earned money for the biggest day of their life in order to deal with you, then you're going to have your work cut out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is, as you say. I mean, Manny's just reiterated what I just said in terms of, it is a people business that we're in, and people buy from people. And as long as you pay interest to their requirements and what you can do to solve their problem, you'll get a lot further. I believe in that too. That's my mentality. Just obviously, you've mentioned about your exhibitors that some are more proactive than others. Can I just ask, what kind of benefits do your exhibitors actually get? Do they get quite a lot of exposure generally?
Oh yeah, I mean, ultimately they kind of benefit from you see, we invest a lot into our marketing methods in terms of being able to get the right kind of people through the doors. Yeah. We're not after just a exhibition full of just anybody and everybody. They've got to be targeted brides and grooms that are people that are getting married. I'm not saying everybody that walks through the door will be getting married, but a good proportion of people are there for the right reason.
Yeah.
And ultimately, even if out of one exhibition, people will kind of like walk away with, a very good amount of leads. What happens afterwards, unfortunately, is out of our hands. We can just get the right kind of audience to the venue, to the to the actual exhibition, but ultimately being able to actually communicate, engage, and then afterwards being able to convert the leads into sales. That is actually in the hands of the exhibitors. We try to kind of assist, in terms of help, any kind of guidance, even in terms of if people want a little bit of assistance with the design of their stands, or what they should be doing on their stands, and etc. We're not just there in order to kind of like take away the money and say that's it, you're on your own now. So it's ultimately, there's kind of other plans in the pipeline as well moving forwards, where there'll be that crossover onto the digital platforms as well, whether it's the online directories or virtual exhibitions and stuff. So again, it's been able to provide the kind of whole kind of marketing experience as well.
Which is fantastic. I mean, that's good. That shows to me, if you go to the National Asian Wedding Show, if you do exhibit there, that you've got the backing behind you, and the organisers would be only too pleased to try and help you in which way they can. Just try to put you at ease, basically.
Absolutely. So. And again, you will have some companies what are actually exhibiting for the first time. So they've not exhibited at an exhibition before. They've not, been to one of these shows before. So again, it's just being able to actually help people in the right kind of manner. Because the way I look at it is this: if my exhibitors don't get a response, they're not going to exhibit again.
Yeah, that's because it's all trial and error, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you wouldn't invest money into some kind of a marketing method what isn't working for you. So if the exhibitors don't exhibit again, I don't have a product. I don't have a service what I can offer. So for me, the kind of main backbone of the events has always been is to actually have a look into long term, and being able to actually have the exhibitor retention where they get a good response and they return year on year. And I think, again, as you mentioned earlier, because we're very, very fortunate that we've got the support and the backing of major brands behind us, even in terms of the sponsor, that's always helped, in the sense of it just gives the whole event a lot more credibility, which ultimately then means that, we're able to do a lot more as well. Because even with the sponsor, they've always been the same throughout. We actually have a waiting list on particular categories of sponsorship, because ultimately it's our first offering is always to the people that have always been for us. So you've got a waiting list of people that are actually waiting, for certain exhibitions now.
Yeah, no, that's very, very, very fair what you've picked up on there. And it's sponsorship does make the show. I'll go with you. The sponsorship does make the show more credible. You get big names involved and behind you. It gives more people. It gives both clients and exhibitors more reason to exhibit, and give clients more reason to come when they can see the sort of names behind the show. It just installs a lot of confidence, really.
It does.
Yeah. So obviously, I know you're very much involved in the Asian wedding market. You're involved obviously in Indian Fashion Week. Is there any other particular markets within the wedding and events industry you may want to develop or hone in on more?
Well, it's quite funny. There's been many occasions where people have said, because you've got the access to the wedding industry, why don't we do this or why don't we do that? There's been many things. I don't want to be I don't want to be the jack of all trades, but master of none. I'd rather play to my strengths and do what I know best. Do what I've trained in, and what I'm passionate about. And I think that's one of the kind of like key things as well. I don't see this as a job. I don't see that, oh my God, I've got to organize a show, I've got to do this, got to do that. And I think for the foreseeable future, for me, it's being able to stick to what I know. And I'd rather help and support my colleagues and, associates that I've actually built very, very good relationships with over the years. And I think, just like we said earlier, a lot of the exhibitors have now become friends. So, just like many times, they'll be able to pick up the phone and just ask for advice or guidance, or, I do the same to them. Because it's always really good in order to actually try and get some kind of feedback on what you're doing. And at times it may be what you're doing wrong, because as I said, it's not always about, doing everything right. But at times it may take one of the exhibitors to say that, well, I don't think you should have done that, or I don't think you should have done it in that particular way, or something. But again, it's all a learning curve. And I think the more mistakes you make, the more you learn. Just don't make the same mistake twice.
Well, that's right. It's having that positivity installed inside you and having an attitude to learn from mistakes and move on from it, and then make it special the time after. Really, it's I mean, so just moving on to the next question. Just a few more left for you now, Manny. We touched on this very slightly earlier, but if you want to elaborate on a bit more for me, I mean, do you use social media marketing a hell of a lot onto its full potential? And what platform do you feel is the most kind of effective for you and on the social media front?
Yeah, social media for us has become very important now. We have always used it right from the outset. It's always been there, but I think over the last few years, probably the last 3 or 4 years, I think it's become more important and more apparent now. We used to invest heavily into advertising on the London Underground, on the buses, on digital billboards, TV, radio. But over the years, what we've done is we've actually reallocated a lot of them budgets onto social media now. Mm-hmm. As I said before, we're dealing with a very tech-savvy audience now. We're dealing with a consumer that is they want information in their hands instantly.
Yeah.
So for us now, it's they are our potential visitors to the shows. So it's a case of providing the right kind of marketing methods in order to actually achieve our marketing objectives and get the right people through the doors. So our largest spend that we do actually at the moment is Instagram. So we actually work with a mainstream agency that actually do all our kind of like online advertising and marketing for Instagram, because ultimately it needs to be done in a manner where we're actually hitting the right kind of target audience. At the moment, I think over the last couple of years, with the feedback that we've got and the kind of response that we've got with people attending the shows, it seems to be working quite well. But again, I think before every exhibition, we kind of like reassess, have a look at all of the stats and look at, what kind of feedback we're getting and what kind of people are actually registering to actually attend the shows, because data is very, very important. And actually seeing the trends and seeing, how people are responding to particular kinds of adverts, because again, even with Instagram, you can have the feeds, the Instagram stories, the competitions, ticket giveaways. So there's various things even on like one platform.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, Instagram was, it's very, 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 very visual for people. It's got a lot of functionalities on it, which is very, very quite attractive to consumers. What's your take on Facebook and Twitter?
Facebook is in decline.
Yeah.
I think the biggest reason for Facebook in decline is especially for the wedding market, is the audience. Yeah. Facebook is important for people like my age, and stuff. But I think for the younger market, especially the market that are looking to get married, they're more kind of like focused on to Instagram. Twitter is, I would say, probably ranks number 3. I would put Instagram first, Facebook second, and then Twitter third.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting feedback, and I'm sure our listeners have taken that on board. Actually, it's Instagram seems to
that's what we've experienced. That kind of feedback, what we've actually got from our even in terms of the marketing agency that we use.
Yeah.
Because everything is actually tracked. Any kind of advertising campaign that we do, any kind of marketing that we do. Because what I don't want to be doing is investing large amounts of money into something that may not be working. So, everything has to have some kind of feedback from it. And ultimately for us, the attendance in the shows explains it all, because it's the right kind of people coming through the doors. So it's important that we see what kind of marketing activities are working, and how they're working, and what kind of means and methods that we need to improve on, we need to tweak on, or ultimately we need to change as well.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely right. It's it's good though. You've got an agency behind you, as you say. They're analysing your figures all the time, analysing your social media, your competition, what's going on, where you need to place your resources. So no, it's a very, very, very good thing, really. So you don't put your advertising in the wrong area.
No.
Where you're basically chasing a dead haddock, so to speak.
Absolutely.
So just moving on to the next question here. Can I just kind of ask you, Manny? Now, this has been a big thing. A lot of controversy has been going on in the industry since COVID-19 actually started. What's your thoughts on wedding and events insurance? About clients taking wedding or event insurance. Should it be standard to all clients, and why?
I think it's something that, especially in our industry, it's been something what until now people have not everybody's really thought about. I know ever since ever since COVID came along and there was many cancellations and date changes and things, you know, it's become a lot more apparent now that people should actually take out insurance. It is something that the difficulty, I think, will always be is the actual level of cover and to what extent the cover is, because you can actually take out insurance, but if it's not going to pay out for what your losses are going to be, it's going to be a worthless piece of paper. I think there's a lot of grey areas, especially because Asian weddings aren't kind of seen as a standard risk to insurance companies. I was actually having the same conversation a few weeks ago with Matt from the National Wedding Show, Ocean Media. We do a lot of work with them as well. And again, even he was mentioning that, he said, you know, we've had a lot of exhibitors just, you know, inquiring about, you know, who are the right kind of companies to go with when it comes down to wedding insurance. The difficulty, what everyone's going to be facing now is there's a lot of legal complexity. You know, it all boils down to the level of cover. No,
Yeah.
when it comes to Asian weddings, there's many different entities, and even the cost of an Asian wedding, it can, you know, it can rise steeply. So I think it's important to have wedding insurance, but it needs to be from a supplier that is used to dealing with Asian weddings. Because at the moment, a lot of the products out there are not tailored towards Asian weddings. And I think that's where people have become a little bit stuck when, you know, I know that a few people have tried to make claims against the policies, but, you know, it's just meant that there wasn't adequate cover in place.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting facts and figures here, because prior to when the COVID-19 episode started, only 30% of people actually took out wedding insurance, so to speak. And when it comes to indemnities and everything, only at that point, if people would have taken the insurance 6 months or a year prior to the COVID-19 started, there were some insurance companies that are actually covering for very small cover for the pandemic itself.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to offer the same advice as what you're giving. I'm going to say to people, what Manny says, absolutely, really on the button. And what you should do is do your research. There's plenty of insurance companies out there, and you want to go particularly look at an Asian wedding specialist insurance company out there, and there are a few out there. So have a look at the indemnities and see what they cover in detail before signing up. Don't take the first one. Have a good look around, because sometimes it's not all about the price, what you're paying for the premium. You need to make sure you've got the adequate cover, and that may involve paying a certain sum of money. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. The easiest way to explain it is when we travel abroad. You know, once we look for travel insurance, we always make sure that it covers the adequate amount of baggage, you know, valuables, you know, to what kind of areas that you're going to be traveling to. And I think even with the Asian wedding insurance, it's very similar in terms of, you know, it's very important in order to actually ensure that it covers you for the right kind of risks and stuff as well. Because again, jewelry cover, you know, valuables, you know, whether you need to change your date, you know, public liability as well at times. You know, venues now are actually, I know of some venues that are actually saying to the wedding party themselves that they need their own, you know, they need their own public liability cover. So there's many things what in order to actually keep in mind. But the other main thing that I will stress is go with a trusted name, a trusted broker, because there seems to be a lot of people actually entering the market at the moment, you know, claiming to be wedding insurance specialists, or, you know, people that will actually offer you the cover. So do your research. That's very important.
Yeah, well, that's great, and that's an interesting one for our listeners to take into consideration. Actually, what you've said, and as Manny said, do your research, have a look around, and see what suits you. Speak to the people directly, the insurance companies, and see what works for you. So moving on, just a couple of questions now, and then we can just wrap this up for you. In relation to COVID-19, I take it's had a massive impact on your business.
It has. It has. We've kind of we're stuck in the middle of nowhere at the moment. We've got exhibition dates what have been planned and they're in the diary, but up until we got clearance from the government in the sense of where we stand with large scale events and large gatherings, it's very, very, very difficult to say where these events will be going, because when we've not actively started to sell at the moment, we're not taking any exhibitors on board. Which is why, for me, at the moment, the push and the drive is all towards the virtual exhibition and the online stuff that we're doing. So I think we've actually got a lot more clearance from the government, in terms of where exhibitions are going to be heading. I mean, the good thing is in Germany, exhibitions have actually been given special clearance. So as long as they're going to be following basic guidelines and stuff in terms of social distancing, and the exhibitors will have to maintain hygiene and stuff. Exhibitions are actually allowed to go ahead, because even in this country, what you've got to understand, it's such a huge industry, and it's not just the exhibitions themselves; it's all of the contractors, the service suppliers, the venues, the tech companies behind it, the production companies. There's a lot of labor involved in any kind of an exhibition. And ultimately, at the moment, we're all in the same boat, whether it's the organizers or the people supplying the shows. It's a very, very hard area that we're in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can kind of relate to that. I think COVID-19's had a massive impact on our hospitality industry, and it has given us all the time, just a bit of time, just to take a little step back and think about how we're going to diversify, how we can change what we're doing. I mean, basically, that kind of ties in the next question I'm going to ask you. Really, I mean, how do you see the future of the wedding and events industry? What's your take on that?
It's a difficult one at the moment, Jonathan. In the sense of, I think this whole episode will actually have changed people's mindset. In the sense of planning for future risks and planning for any kind of eventualities like this, if it was ever to occur again. I think the industry is resilient. I think we will definitely have a bounce back. I think over the past week or two, I've been speaking to a lot of the industry, wedding industry suppliers. There seems to be a lot of buzz and activity around 2021. There's a lot of people booking 2021 dates and stuff. I think next year is going to be very busy, but I think from an organization point of view, I think everybody will actually, there'll be a lot more kind of aware of the risks involved, and I don't think people will want to be caught out again, how they have been, whether it's to do with cash flow, whether it's to do with contingency planning, because I think this was something that actually took us all by surprise. Nobody anticipated that, in March, everything was, the whole world was going to change. But we all learned, we all learned from it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's we have all learned, and you're right. 2021 has seen a lot of noise. It's I'm hearing that from a lot of other suppliers that a lot of the dates this year have obviously had to be postponed until next year to 2021, and they're getting inquiries for 2021, 22.
Yeah.
So we just hope, like you say, we don't have once this episode has depleted, we hope it doesn't come back and haunt us all again. Really.
Yeah, that's all we can hope for.
Well, exactly. Now, summing up the interview, Manny, and thank you. I mean, how would you like to close? Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think, as I said, it's a great industry for us. We need to keep going. We need to learn from one another, stick together. Unity is very, very important in these times. I think collectively we can all move forwards and help each other, and we'll be able to get through these dark times that we're in.
Yeah, it is very turbulent, and like you said, we have to stick together. Teamwork plays a big role. Let's support each other and move forward. With positivity.
Absolutely,
it's what it comes down to. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a very, very obviously a big thank you to you all for tuning in and watching myself interview Manny Singh here. If there's any questions at all for Manny, please leave them in the comments, and obviously Manny will be only too pleased to pick up and answer them for you. So once again, I want to say a very, very big thank you to our viewers, and a very, very big thank you to Manny as well for taking the time to be interviewed. Thank you, Manny, so much.
Thank you for having me. I think it's really good what you're doing. It's good in order to actually have this opportunity to actually talk about the industry and stuff. And I think it just gives everybody a little bit of an insight into what we all do and how things are done behind the scenes more than anything else.
Well, yeah, I mean, just had a quick question come through from somebody I think and I know very well, Avatar Theti.
Okay.
He just said, do you think there should be a proper professional association / governing body for the wedding industry, and should the industry be regulated? He wants to know your thoughts on that.
Okay, Avatar is a great guy who's been in the industry a long time. He's a very passionate man about what he does. I absolutely agree with him. There should be some kind of a regulatory body. There should be some kind of a scheme where people are able to actually complain, or if there's issues, resolve issues, etc. The thing that our industry suffers from is again, it's a few people in the game that are just doing it for the sake of doing it. They're not doing it with passion, and they're not putting in any kind of an effort into doing things. The problem then that arises is it gives us all a bad name. It gives us a name that, in the Asian wedding industry, they're all cowboys, but they're not. There's some companies, some brands who put in a lot of time and effort into what they're doing. The mindset what a lot of people have is, you see, it's very simple. Every single year there's a new batch of clients. So even if you're going to have the mindset that you're not going to deliver to what you've promised or what you've said to people, there's not really much that's going to happen to your business, in the sense of it's not going to affect your business much. Because what happens is next year, there's a new batch of clients who are going to be ready and waiting in order to use your products and services. My only concern with actually having a body is will the public and the industry take it seriously? Will they, will action be enforced, or if it's like an association? I think there's definite need for it, and I think there's definite potential for it, but it's got to be done in the correct manner, and there's got to be accountability, and there's got to be, like, just say for argument's sake, builders. You know, there's a association of builders. You know, check a plumber or check a trade, where you can go on to put the builder's details in, and you can see whether they're, you know, whether they're kind of doing what they're doing, if there's been any complaints about them, etc. It's going to involve a lot of thought, and it's going to involve the right kind of people to come together. But I think the industry would benefit from it greatly, in the sense of it'd be great for the consumer, because then at least they're not risking their money being able to pay to somebody that isn't going to be able to deliver. Because as I said earlier, you're not going to be at the stage where you can just redo your wedding next week, because once you've been let down by your supplier, you've been let down. You know, there's nothing can happen after that. You know, a lot of the times, even if you complain afterwards or ask for a refund or a partial refund, you're not going to get it. You're just going to be chasing these people around. Unfortunately, Jonathan, I hear of so many of these stories, because, again, at times, there've even been some exhibitors what have exhibited with us. Now, for the consumer, we've had the emails saying, oh, we actually saw them at your show. But then there's very little we can do as an exhibition organizer in order to say, you know, come on, mate, you need to pull up here, and you need to sort this out. I mean, I've actually had to get involved in one or two occasions where, you know, it's been very blatant that, you know, people have been cutting corners and not been doing things properly. But the biggest issue with that is because they know that there's no accountability. They're able to get away with what they're doing, and next year they're going to have a new batch of clients. But then on the other hand, there are companies just like Avatars that put in the right kind of time and effort, that will deliver what they're saying, what they need to do. And I think maybe it needs, you know, a group of people from the industry to come together and actually form some kind of association, you know. And anywhere where we can help, you know, I'd be up for it. That's not a problem.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because and thank you for answering the question first of all, Manny. But it's funny the Avatar should mention that question, because me and him, we've had this conversation on countless times, on countless occasions, about a group of us getting together and literally doing something, making sure a bit cleaner, so to speak.
Yeah. I completely agree. It definitely needs it, because if you look at it in terms of an industry, it's worth, you know, so much money. You know, people are dependent on it in terms of livelihoods, and, you know, business-wise, it creates so much business every year. And let's be honest, it's an industry what's never going to go away. People are always going to get married. You know, so it's you know, and to a certain extent, it's also been recession-proof. It's been resilient in hard times. So why isn't it a lot more governed? Why aren't people, you know, a lot more serious in it? And if you're going to come into it, then you need to be doing things properly.
Yeah. No, I hope that. Thank you very much, and I hope our viewers took that on board. You know, so it's something that, you know, will be looked at out in the future in terms of in terms of regulation. But it's something that needs to take time. We need to get a group of professionals to sit down and work on a master plan, and that, you know, hopefully that will happen in the future. So once again, a very, very big thank you to Manny for answering such amazing questions and being so active. And thank you very much, everybody, and keep well and keep safe. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Right, let's end the broadcast.